Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new patch notes that just came out for 9.1 PTR, specifically for Affliction. Affliction got a pretty handful of good changes here, and we're just going to go talk about them, give my thoughts. So right off the bat, Seed of Corruption is now a little bit stronger. Got a 10% damage buff. This is really needed. I mean, we didn't pretty much use seed only. We only used seed really to spread corruption. Whereas back in Legion, this was our main spender. So potentially they are maybe pushing us towards a sow the seed AoE type build as a spender instead of Malefic Rapture. Since that 18% nerf to Malefic Rapture is still happening as of right now. So this is something to keep an eye on. Definitely something that we needed when it comes to AoE. A really big change here is Dark Caller is now baseline. So it is going to always line up with our Dark Soul, and we're going to have our Dark Glare Dark Soul every 2 minutes. And that is just going to be such a great change. We no longer need to take Corrupt and Leer to kind of balance that out, and hopefully, sometimes you'd hopefully get like a 2 minute and 10-second Dark Lair. Sometimes they'd be like 230 depending on RNG. Don't need to deal with that anymore. Flat out 2 minute cooldowns. Really awesome. Really good in Raid and Mythic Plus, and even PvP. I'm going to skip over this PvP talent here and kind of talk about the new Cold Embrace, which is now being renamed to Withering Bolt. So, Drained Soul deals 20% increased damage per damage over time effect you have on the target. So, this is pretty much a single target conduit, and it is very similar to Malefic Grasp, which was in Legion. So, in Legion, Drained Soul was our main filler, just as it is now, and while channeling it, your damage over time effects dealt 20% more damage to the target. However, Malefic Grasp was a talent, so we had to sacrifice more to take it. If I remember correctly, I mean, the first row wasn't really competitive anyways. You always took this in all scenarios, but we are sacrificing less now by it being on a conduit rather than a talent. So that is like a really sick change, and that's going to be pretty impactful for our single target. Like I said earlier, the 18% nerf to Malefic Rapture, it seems to be kind of set in stone. It's probably going to happen. Um, but we got a 20% damage to Agony, and now we're getting more dot damage buffed while we're channeling Drain Soul. This is promoting a heavy drain style build and play style that kind of relies on you maximizing your uptime on Drain Soul. So the more time you can drain, the more damage you're going to do. And that's kind of how it was back in Legion also when it came to single target. I personally really like this playstyle. Um, it shows that you are always able to do damage, and it kind of like separates you from other warlocks based on your Drain Soul uptime. Right now, I mean, Drain Soul does a little bit of our damage, but this is going to kind of skyrocket it when it comes to single target and how much damage can you do while you're moving, etc. So this is a change I'm pretty excited for. It's going to be interesting. A lot of warlocks like this playstyle. A lot of warlocks didn't like this playstyle, so we'll see what happens. Our next change here is corruption got a buff. So corruption got about a 12% buff across the board. So it's going to be hitting really hard now. So we got a 20% buff to Agony, and we got another 12% buff to Corruption. We also had some changes previously to Sacrilash's Dark Strike for 25% increased corruption damage rather than the current 15%. So that means that, if we take absolute corruption, we're getting 40% more corruption damage. And then on top of that, we have this like 12% buff that's happening. So corruption could be hitting really hard. It could be really strong in AoE situations to target and stuff. Back in Legion, we used absolute corruption and we used Sacrilash's Dark Strike in two target scenarios. So two target bosses, council bosses, etc. Absolute corruption was the go-to because it did a lot of damage. So that is also going to be something to look out for. Um, Another change possibly to Dark Pact. I'm not sure if this is the same change as earlier, and they're kind of just implementing it here. But Dark Pact is going to be an even bigger shield than it is now, which is pretty insane to think about. I mean, Dark Pact is a really, really strong defensive cooldown, and with us majority being Night Fae, we don't need Burning Rush in a lot of scenarios. Like there are some fights where it's, pretty important to have, sometimes Stone Legion generals or, Artificer when you have to run away from the pull. But I mean, even then, like you don't always need it. And so just having Dark Pact and just having a really crazy shield could be just kind of like the default go-to. So right now, before the buffs, Dark Pact gives about a 25,000 shield, right? So 24,500. With this buff and us just getting more health as we get higher item levels and stuff, this is going to scale so well and it's going to be really, really strong. So definitely keep an eye out on Dark Pact. Don't sleep on it. Another change here that I did not screenshot. Um, Shadow's Embrace is now going to be a talent. So it's going to be taking this dark color position, I would assume. So I'm not sure if they're planning on limiting it to one target still, or if they're going to keep it as is. So, Drain Soul and Haunt apply Shadow's Embrace, increases the damage to your target, by whatever percent for 12 seconds, whatever the percent they choose. This is interesting because it's like the same thing as Haunt. So, unless they're planning to change it a little bit to kind of adjust it, like you would kind of just take Haunt because it's less of a headache, I would think. But who knows? I mean, they could do some adjustments to Shadow's Embrace, but right now it's going to be this talent row. So for talents, our talents probably won't change much for single target. It's still probably going to look something like this. It's just going to probably be a lot better, a lot more enjoyable playstyle with our 2-minute dark layers and not having to maintain Shadow's Embrace and just having our dots hit harder so we aren't super reliant on our rapture windows. It's going to be interesting to see. So yeah, it's kind of all I want to talk about. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you guys like these changes? I personally like them so far. I want to see what they're going to do with Shadow's Embrace. I don't know if they're literally just going to copy and paste this and put it into this row, or if they're going to do the PTR changes and kind of keep in this row. So I guess we'll see what they end up deciding on when 9.1 hits. But I am looking forward to these changes. I like the direction they're going. Let me know in the comments what everyone thinks, and I'll see you guys in the next one.